My name is William Rotella, the instructor for this course entitled New Church Christian Mystics. My background is that I have an English degree with a second major in film studies from the University of Wisconsin, a Master's of Library and Information Science from the University of Wisconsin, a Certificate of Swedenborgian Theology from the Pacific School of Religion and the Center for Swedenborgian Studies, and now I'm in a PhD program in leadership with a focus on religion. This video is an introduction to this course, which includes the Bible, the New Church, and Christian mystics. The Christian Bible is a holy book or scripture composed of the Old Testament and the New Testament. Both testaments of the Bible are comprised of multiple books, and the multiple books had different inspired writers or authors. The Protestant Bible has 66 books, but Catholic Bibles can have more than 66 books. The books left out of the Bible are called Apocrypha. Apocrypha are writings or works not considered genuine or inspired enough to be in the Bible. The Old Testament is the first section of the Christian Bible. The Old Testament is the Jewish scriptures, or the Hebrew Bible called the Tanakh or Mikra, that has been translated and reworked for Christian Bibles. The Old Testament of the Christian Bible contains the books of the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. These books date back before Jesus Christ. The Christian books of the Bible were written after Jesus Christ and comprise the second section of books of the Bible, or the last half of the Christian Bible. The New Testament or Christian books start with the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The term gospel means good news, and the good news is of Jesus Christ coming into the world. The next book of the Christian Bible is the Acts of the Apostles, which describes the things that the apostles did after Jesus' death on the cross. The next books are the epistles or church letters. The word epistle means church letter. The next and last book of the Christian Bible is the book of Revelation. The books were written by different authors and have different characteristics. For instance, the first three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, are called the Synoptic Gospels, which are historical and linear, with the Gospel of John being the spiritual gospel, which is written more in parable and symbolism. The Acts of the Apostles and the epistles are not written in parable, but the book of Revelation was written from John's visions and is considered to have the most parable and symbolisms in a compact and dense form. The book of Revelation is the book in the Bible where the New Jerusalem or New Church is mentioned. Since Jerusalem was famous for being where the religion was, and the church and the temple and the Jewish scriptures, the term New Jerusalem refers to a new church or group of people with renewed religion and renewed Christianity. This implies some commonality of belief or common teaching that comes to be known as doctrines of the New Jerusalem, which means the new church or a new Christian church. The expected outcome of this course is to familiarize the student with four Christian mystics who wrote substantial amounts of writing. All four Christian mystics or authors seem to be supporting a common doctrinal thread that can be considered New Jerusalem or New Church. The course is limited to Christian mystic writers who wrote a substantial amount of writing, and that we can now read. These writings are generally free for download and on the internet, and many are available in book form for purchase from book vendors. Christian mystics who did not write a substantial amount of writing are not covered in this course. The method employed is a brief biography of the person along with some of their writing samples to read in order to discover the quality of their original writings. We will become familiar with their name and how they said their writings were inspired, and the style and quality of their original writings, which were all translated into English versions from various languages. The term mystic refers to a person who gains knowledge through some supernatural contact with God or the heavens, and so the term is used only for the lack of a better term. Revelator, seer, and visionary might be more complimentary terms, but the term mystic has become a more neutral and safe term to use, especially when applied to good people who were allowed to write in an inspired way and left these writings for the good of the Christian church and for us. The first author, Emanuel Swedenborg, wrote doctrine or theology in the 18th century and introduced what he called the doctrine of the New Church, or the universal theology of the New Jerusalem or New Church. Swedenborg wrote only in a doctrinal and theological style. Swedenborg is the first Christian mystic writer to attempt to define the doctrine belonging to the new church, and he wrote in a rational and scientific style during the European Enlightenment. The characteristics of the Christian doctrine that Swedenborg wrote concerning the difference of the new church and the old Christian church is that the Christian God is one God with a triune nature, or a trinity, but not a trinity of separate persons, and that there is a marriage of good and truth. In one of his books entitled The Interaction Between the Soul and the Body, Swedenborg says that the core theology is that God is one and there is a conjunction of charity and faith. In Swedenborg's theology, Jesus Christ was and is the promised Messiah. Swedenborg gives Jesus Christ more descriptive names, more names like the God-man and the divine human, which points to the divinity of Jesus Christ as the one triune God. Jacob Lorber had read Swedenborg and wrote a major work called The Great Gospel of John, which is a more detailed and verbatim account of Jesus' words and actions. Jacob Lorber wrote other books as well. His style or method was called the inner voice style. Bertha Dudd continued the inner voice style to write 9,000 mini revelations, and Maria Valtorta continued the inner voice style to write poetic and visual accounts of Jesus' acts and words in her major work entitled The Poem of the Man God. All of these authors share a common relationship to New Church doctrine and writings, through the Christian God being intrinsically one triune God and a trinity, but not a trinity of persons, and through the characteristics of God being primarily the marriage of good and truth in God's quality. This course is designed for the student to walk away with the familiarity of these four authors, all of which have substantial writings, who together can lend the student a lifetime of interesting reading. Therefore, both biographies and writing samples are necessary to fully familiarize ourselves with these Christian mystics and their works. Typically, the reader of a mystic will be expected to discern the quality and truth of the writing by themselves using their experience, knowledge, rationality, and judgment. The writings of mystics are generally not backed up with academic references and citations, but they are written in a style that supposes their obvious truth. None of these authors claim to have written new scriptures, but some people consider writings of mystics to be new scriptures or testaments of Jesus Christ. The volume of these new original writings is large and can take a lifetime to read, and that does not count the derivative books that come from these original writings in the area of religious and Christian studies, psychology, and spirituality. Derivative books and historical books can also be very enlightening in the area of New Church literature. More videos will follow as we work our way through the modules of this course. I hope you enjoy this course on New Church Christian mystics.